All right, all right, all right. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, or afternoon, or night, wherever you are. Welcome back to the channel. Trade Life with B Phil. Today, we are going to be doing our trade ideas. So, let's go ahead and start from the top. Now, this is one thing I've just been trying to be a bit more aware of. Now, look over here in TradingView, and you see this change percentage. And right now, we see the change percentage is just completely negative. Now, let's actually yeah, this is the daily range since open, or since the market reset. So you can see when you just start to look, it just everything looks bearish just from this alone. Okay, great. I've been trying to be a bit more aware just so you don't look for buys into stuff that maybe sells, unless it's in a zone that we're looking at. So, I mean, if you're looking at the euro, right now we're looking, we'll go all the way up to the weekly, but there's just no areas, like not in the demand or anything. So it's just overall bearish. So if I'm looking at this on the weekly, I'm looking at that particular area there, possibly, but not even that. I mean, you could say this up, that, and then it just plays around. Then it finally breaks. Okay, then we say, where'd it come from? And then we would say, well, down in here somewhere. So on the weekly, but when it breaks here, this is the overall MB for the weekly. So then we're going to say, well, it broke above here. Where's the unmitigated zone or the demand zone here? So then we look and we can say, okay, well, in this entire range, we have something like this. But, you see here, it looks like it's just been mitigated at the open, right? Because it opened here, it came down, mitigated, and then took off. So will we really want to trade from that area? Well, it really depends. I mean, we could probably go down to a lower time frame and find something. But ultimately, I probably use something like that. And I'd stretch it out a bit. But then we go ahead and refine that, right? So we'd want to see it get down to there before we think about it turning around at all. Otherwise, we're just bearish on this entire market. So then we just let's go down to a 3-day. Right, because we want to form an overall bias. We want to know where this market's going. We want to have an idea of what type of trades we want to take. So we see this here. That was the last MB. Then we had it break below here. We saw a break below again. And we're pretty much right here right now. So I definitely just refine it down to there. And then I go down to the 1-day. Yeah, something like that, right? Because we see these areas, right, like that, and then like that. You see what I'm saying there? It came all the way up here. It broke below there, validating this. And then it broke below here. I mean, it wicked below. So, I mean, technically, you could say this was an area, this was zone. So, right here, what I'm talking about. And I guess technically, you could actually look for it to come back in here because it did open. And it looks like it pretty much mitigated most of it, but you could argue that this is an unmitigated white because it's a wick on a lower time frame that's an unmitigated zone. So we can go down to the 4-hour. Yeah. So you see this entire candlestick. Then we go down to the 1 hour, and it just gets smaller and smaller. So, all right, it's a large drop off. It's a large drop off. So maybe we have something like that. But then you start to see, okay, well, we have this structure. It broke down here. Then we saw this form. Okay, great. And then we saw, right, and the reason why we saw that form was because break there. And then you have this pretty ugly price action. So what I would say is, if I was looking for a short, we possibly say, hey, something like that. Or you could say down here, this, where did this break come from? I'd use this one. I definitely use that that zone to short off of. Because overall, we're still looking for it to come down. But again, when this happens, what you really want to do is you want to see it come up, and then you want to see it confirm and say, confirmation to go short, bro. And then you go short, and then you win, and then now you're happy. You're doing the happy dance. Or maybe you're not. Who knows? But I'm going to go ahead and put an alert there for a supply zone, and we're just going to let price do what it does. So, as far as I'm concerned, we could potentially see it breaking back up, right? Because this is what I'm kind of looking at here. I see this break. Maybe not actually. There's a lot of volume right there. We'd want to see a break here if we were just doing small scalps to go back up to this higher time, this higher time frame supply. But I mean, if you look over here, this price action doesn't look the cleanest. It doesn't look like it really. I mean, I guess it does technically have some highs to run. It could run some stuff. It definitely has a lot of stuff to run right here. So if I go ahead and show you this, right, has some stuff to run there. But I mean, overall, we want to see it break this before we even look for longing up to the supply zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and put an alert here for BOS. Why not? Boom. And that's pretty much that, right? Because you have these two areas here before it'll potentially show you something. So maybe we go ahead and put a BOS here as well. And we'll say BOS downside. Because this is a very large range to even think about trading anything. And this certainly is the range. You could say intermediate price action or candlestick structure if you go down to a very low time frame, and you can make some argument. Nah, not really. You can't really make any arguments. It's just pretty ugly right now. So we're just going to leave that how it is, and we're going to go to our favorite, the NASDAQ. All right, let's go up to the daily. Let's go ahead and remove all our drawings. Actually, let's go up to the week. All right. Oh, wow, we just had some major fall off here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get this coffee. All right. So yeah, we had some major fall off here. All right, if we're looking this week, these last 2 weeks have been bearish. All right. We want to go ahead and look at the count. Why is my stuff? All right, there we go. Yeah. So these are weeklies, right? So these last 2 weeks have closed bearish. This is the start of a new week. This is the week of the 26th. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing these close bear. We see this break up. Right, we saw this break up, but now we're seeing it go bearish, and it looks like maybe we want to hold, but I mean, ultimately, we could say that. and we could see something in here. So let's go down to a 3-day. Yeah, and it's pretty much been as we've been saying, right? This here, this is what we've been looking at for quite some time now, and saying maybe this demand will hold. We saw this break. Now we're seeing the double breakdown, and it looks like it's just going to continue down. We're bearish on the market on the day so far and continue down. What we'd really have to see is, I'm looking at the 4-hour, man, this price action just doesn't look good at all. So more recently, this is what we saw. We'll just draw it in just so we can get an idea of what's going on here. You could argue some of this stuff in here just doesn't look very good. Like that. Like that. You could argue that, right? So you have all this structure being put in. Ultimately, the higher time frame, the larger structure would be something like this. I look at it like this. You come up and you finally break down. You come up and you finally break down. So ultimately, we have to see some large impulse back up on the 4-hour to be satisfied. Now, if we go down a little bit lower, we're looking on the hourly time frame here. Maybe something you see, maybe if we saw something like this, you see we're starting to see a rebound. It came down. Nah, you could say, okay, well, something like that. Maybe. But let's go down to the 30 and let's see what else we can see. Again, this price action just does not look good. It doesn't look good at all. But that's not to say there's no trades in here. So yeah, you could say candlestick structure. We want to see a break here or see a break here before we think about any type of trade. Because if it breaks down, then we want to see a break up above this before retest and go higher. So what we'll do here is we'll just go ahead and we'll just put some alerts here, right? That's what we'll do. And make it simple. And then we'll wait. Say break a structure to the upside. And the reason why I'm putting these alerts here, right, is ultimately because I do like to do other things. And there's no point in me just staring at the chart until something happens. Now you might say, well, so don't you need to focus when you're doing other things? Yeah, sure. Morning time's my time though. So it looks like I've already marked up gold. Let's go ahead and look at gold. What is gold? I mean, I marked up something very small. Yeah, so let's go ahead and remove this. Yeah, we're just in a bearish trend here. Bearish. It looks like we ran those equal lows as we were talking about a few videos back. And go check the older videos, but what we were talking about were there's all these equal lows here, and we're going to eventually run them to go ahead and mitigate this or come down into here in some form or fashion. And so it looks like we did run those lows, and we created this MB here. And what we'll do there with that MB is we'll say, hey, this is supply zone, and we could look for sales off of that zone to come down in here, or when it comes down into this zone, we can look for buys. So let's go down to a 3-day and let's check this area here, let's refine it down to that last down move before the up move for this large move up, as I'm talking about. Boom, down move, large move up. So we ran those equal lows. We're coming down. We still see, we're still seeing some, oops, let's go ahead and do this. Refine that down. All right, let's double that. Okay, great. So, we could refine it. Oops, excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. Sneezing into your ear. I need to get the mute button working. Okay, so let's go down to the 1 day and see what we got going on. Yeah, it's just we saw this push up and it didn't break until down here. So if we're doing this nice and neatly, right, we're gonna go ahead and make that neat. And so you saw that. Then you could say, okay, well, where did that break come from? Came from here. You could refine that. But it ultimately broke all the way. I mean, it validated this in B. So you could actually say that, but we're gonna continue to leave this because I like this zone better. Ultimately, we're bearish and we want to find ways to continue bearish. So I like this zone overall. So we could say, okay, well, it came down here, and we have enough meat on this bone. So 4 hour, because when you start to zoom in, you start to get a slightly different picture. You understand that this was the larger move, but in here you have some intermediate candlestick structure, right? Breaks, higher highs, lower lows, higher low, lower low, higher low, lower low, right, higher low. And then we finally break right here. You see that? So then we say, all right, let's refine this to this last up move for the down move so we can get an even better zone. So we could say we want to look to enter here. Now we refine it and get an even better RR. That's 1 to 8 going all the way down. But then again, we're starting to see some price action break. Boom. See that? So then we might say, well, we want to look here. We want to look for a confirm here. So then if we look for the confirm here, this is a bit riskier in my opinion. But if we look for it here, we can get a way better RR going down here to this demand zone. And then I'm sure if we go down even further, we could find even more reasons. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put an alert here for a demand zone because we're going to look to just trade these 3 pairs now. Or excuse me, supply zone. We're going to look to trade these 3 pairs, gold, euro, and the NASDAQ. So we're going to put that there. Boom. And we're just going to wait. So we're going to delete these. We have a good idea of what we can get from this. But that's pretty much all I have for my daily trade ideas for 9/26. I hope you learned something. Go ahead and leave a comment if you have any questions. Go ahead and hit that like button if you like what you're seeing, or dislike it if you don't. And of course, hit the subscribe button if you want more of this content. Thanks for being here today, and I hope you learned something. It's your boy, Trade Life with B Phil. I'm gone. Peace.